For this next project, we're going to thread the cards, set up for weaving, and actually work the weaving process in a completely different way from the first band. To begin with, you'll need 20 cards, and you'll also need warp threads, a dark color and a light color. Now, as part of this second band, we're going to make a bag, and the bag is going to have 4 bands, and my suggestion for you is to weave 2 bands on one warp and then weave the second 2 bands on another warp. Most people don't have tables that are wider than this, and so that should work out well. To begin with, you'll want to set up your C-clamps. Now, you'll set your C-clamps up 73 inches apart. I'm setting these up a little bit closer together so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Make sure they're nice and tight because there's going to be a lot of tension on them. Now take your 20 cards and slide off the top 4. We're no longer concerned that the cards are numbered, that the holes match up. Well, actually, we're concerned that the holes match up, but we don't have to worry about where the letters are, where the numbers are, or whether it's the back side of the card or the front side of the card. Now, these 4 cards we'll set aside for our border. We'll now take the 4 balls of yarn, and I'm going to take a dark colored thread through one set of holes. Goes through all the card holes up to the top. Right next to it, in consecutive order, the second dark thread. Then a light thread through the next set, and another light thread through the last set of holes. I'll pull all of those ends up. I want to now tie these 4 threads securely to the first C-clamp, and this is going to be the beginning of my weaving. When I start weaving, it'll be from this end. Now I'm going to take these yarns and drop them in my basket, and that will keep them from rolling around the table. Now, as I draw the warp threads along, each time I come by this starting point, I'll slide a card off. Remember, don't worry about which direction it's facing or whether it's threaded in the proper way or not. That can all be taken care of later. I draw the cards along, allowing the threads to slide through. I come around the other anchor point, back down here. Basically, I'm going round and round in a circle. When I come down here, I slide the next card off, right next to the first card, come right around the C-clamp, and as I come around, put my threads out of the way, and I slide another card off. So when I come on one side, I slide a card, I come around, immediately drop another card. Now, we'll continue in this manner all the way until all 16 cards have been dropped off, and I'm back here at the beginning. As you drop your last card, you'll be back here at the beginning, and there at the anchor point. You want to take those threads and tie them securely there, making sure your tension is even. And then you're basically ready to start weaving. You've combed your warp, threaded your cards, arranged the tension, done everything in one motion. Now the pattern cards are threaded, and I'm ready for the border cards. I'm going to do the same thing with these cards, except I'm going to have 4 red threads, a red thread through each series of holes. Tie them on in the same way. Drop one border card on one side. One card on the other side. Come around, drop a second one there. And the other one on that side. Cut and attach this to the C-clamp, and we are basically set up and ready to arrange our cards for weaving. The first pattern we're going to do on this card weaving is very simple. It's going to be horizontal stripes, and we'll set up the cards first of all by putting all of the dark threads in the top position. Just go through, turn each card individually to put those 2 dark threads on top. Doesn't matter which way you turn the cards. I usually just turn to do it in the quickest way. Now once we have the threads lined up, then we're going to take a look at the threading direction. All right, I have all my dark threads on the top, light threads on the bottom. I want to have my cards all threaded so that the threads go through from the left to the right, as they are in the first card, blank right there. Check the cards to make sure that's that way. Okay, the second part are threaded in the reverse direction. What I do to change that direction is to take the card and do what's called flipping. Now you'll notice it's open right there and threaded in the right direction. So I will flip each of these cards to start weaving. Clear the shed, and I'll begin with a cord to spread those threads. I'm going to weave now, turning the cards toward my body. And it usually takes about 4 rows to spread things out. And I'm ready now to start with my weft thread and start my actual weaving. And as I turn towards me, I'm going to get 2 rows of the light color and 2 rows of the dark color. And this will produce a series of horizontal stripes. I can control the width of these stripes by reversing the way I'm turning the cards. So if I want a slightly wider light stripe, I can turn my cards until I get the light color on top. And then if I turn one turn towards me so that the light threads in each card are in the position on top towards my body, bring my weft thread across, and then at that point reverse and turn away from my body, I'll get an extra wide light stripe there. If I did the same thing with the dark threads, I'd get an extra wide dark stripe. I'm going to show you a variation on these stripes, which I think creates a very nice pattern. Turn my cards until the dark threads are in the top position. And now what I'm going to do is to flip every other card in the pattern section. I'll leave the two border cards the way they are. I'll leave the first card the way it is. I'll take the next card, flip it. Do that with every other card. And it's going to create alternate threading. Now I can either begin by turning toward or away. I'm going to turn my cards toward, bring my weft thread across, and after you weave for a ways, you'll notice that the structure of the weaving is very different looking from the way it was before. In fact, it looks very much like knitting. Now to do the next section, we're going to take these cards and take those same cards you just flipped and flip them back so that we're back to where we were before we did the alternate threading. And that means that each card will be threaded now from left to right. Now the first turn, I'm going to bring the cards one turn towards my body, which puts the dark threads in the position towards my body. Bring the weft thread across. One turn away puts the dark threads in the top position. The second turn away puts the dark threads in the position away from my body. Now I'm going to turn two turns towards my body. Dark threads go in the top position. Second turn towards my body puts the dark threads towards me. Now what's happening here is that we're getting a double face weave. It's going to be light on the bottom, dark on the top. All right, the next variation I think you'll find quite interesting. What I'm going to do is show you how to make angle patterns. And we do that by doing what I call notching. Now I'm going to start out and I look at card 1, at least card 1 in the pattern part of the weaving, and I look where the 2 dark threads are. They're in the position away from my body. Now on the next card, and it doesn't really make any difference where they are as long as you get the sequence right. So we begin here away from the body. Now on the next card, I'm going to turn those 2 dark threads to be in the bottom position. On the next card, I'm going to turn them to be towards my body. On the next card, top. Next one, away. Bottom, towards, top, away, bottom, towards, top, away, bottom, towards, top, and I'm at the end. Now I'm going to turn the cards towards my body, weave, and as I continue turning towards the body, angles will appear that angle off to the right-hand side. Now when I reverse that turning direction and turn away from my body, I'm going to get the mirror image of what I just did. At that point, all the angles will go the other direction. Take on a different look if you turn 4 turns towards the body and 4 turns away. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'll begin at this point to turn towards my body. Now what I'm going to show you is how to make a diamond image. We'll leave the first half of our cards just exactly the way they are. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now the second set of 10 cards, I'm first of all going to reverse the threading direction on each of those cards, including the border cards. So I'll flip all of these cards. Now since I've reversed the threading direction here, I've also reversed the sequence of the threads. What I need to do is make the second set of 10 cards basically be the mirror image in terms of the color threaded as the first 10 cards. Now if I look at the card, at the 10th card, I've got the 2 dark threads in the position towards my body. Now what I'm going to do is take this next card, and I see that I have to turn it one turn toward my body in order to put those 2 threads in the exact same position. I will take all of those cards and turn them one turn toward my body, and that should put all of those threads in the right sequence. Now the way you can tell they're in the right sequence is that the arrangement of the colors in these cards should mirror the arrangement in these cards. All right, if I look at the first 2, I've got the 2 dark threads towards my body. If I look at the next one here, the 2 dark threads are in the bottom position. If I look here, the 2 threads are in the bottom position. If I look at the next set, the dark threads are away from me. If I look here, the dark threads are away from me. So the threading is the reverse of this, and also the direction the cards are notched is the reverse of the first 10. I'm ready to continue my weaving. Now let's see. I've been turning these towards my body. What I'm going to do now is turn away. Now I've pulled it out part of the way. The weft thread has slipped out because there was nothing there to hold it over here. So I'm just going to loop it around one of those border threads so that it will hold and stay in position there. Now I continue turning. And you right away start seeing how the image splits open there, and half of it goes off one direction and the other half goes off the other direction. If I continue to turn this way, I'll have a series of chevrons. Whenever I make my reverse, the diamond will close up. If I reverse right here, I'll get a nice dark red center. I started to reverse and then I went the wrong way. I've got to go back. I was turning away from me, and then I came towards. This is probably a good point to show you what happens if you want to take out a row. Sometimes it's hard to remember which direction you were turning, and if you turn the wrong way, you get a number of twists, and you can get in a worse mess than you were to begin with. As soon as I'm not absolutely sure which direction I have to turn in order to take things out, I stop and I look at where the weft thread is coming out of the weaving. And I take just that one card and I look to see what I have to do in order to put the right threads on the top. I can see that these 2 threads need to be on the top to release that weft thread. So then I take all of my cards and turn them to put those threads on the top. Then I can slide my weft out. Now, because of the way the threads twist, it can really hold in the weft thread, and sometimes you take it out and it's held in there with all of the little hairs and it doesn't really come out, and you've really almost got to pull it out and kind of pull the layers apart to separate it. I'm now back to where I started the reverse, and I remember that these lines go this direction when I'm turning away from my body, so I should be turning now towards my body. And as I turn towards my body, you'll see those angles reverse from the direction they were going. And now close up that diamond image. Now, I think you can see that the way I've arranged my bands here is to do a series of horizontal stripes on the side pieces, to do the diamonds on the middle pieces, and then to bring that double weave section across there, and then do one large image here that forms a larger diamond composed of the two bands. When you turn it to the other side, it's the reverse of that, with the double woven section on each side, two strong diamonds on the top, and the horizontal bars in the center with one large bar where I did a reverse to make that stripe wider. And here I've done the simple angle pattern reversed back and forth every 4 turns in order to create a zigzag there. When you take your band from the C-clamps and cut off the ends, you'll be ready to stitch the weaving so that when you cut it, it won't unravel. Now I've got my marker here that separates my two bands. I'm going to take my sewing machine and stitch on each side of that marker so that I've got about a 1/2 inch channel in there. Then I'll slip out this thread, the marking thread, and cut right across there. Now the stitching with the sewing machine will secure those threads and hold that edge. Now once I've established that end, then I'll also want to stitch along the other end and the other end of the other band to take care of that. Now you can see how these bands are twisting and turning. Before you finally work them together, you're going to want to press them with a steam iron. Now when you've got your bands together and you're ready to start stitching, you first of all figure out how you want your patterns to match up and go together. And then when you're ready to stitch, you turn that over, bring those ends together, and then using a tapestry needle and the same yarn that you used on your border cards, you work those edges together. Now, usually when I'm putting bands together, I'll start at the middle and work out one direction, then work out the other direction, so that I don't end up shoving one part more than the other. When I start this, I bring the tapestry needle along, paralleling the weft for a little ways, pull through. Generally speaking, I don't like to actually knot that thread. I just go around a few times to secure that end. Now I travel up along the edge, come in across with the needle, and then pull my thread. I work my way up doing this like a ladder. And remember, you're just pulling these two bands close to each other and making a nice, neat seam. In fact, one of the things you want to keep in mind with the card weaving, and I think you can see it on the bag here, and that is you want these edges to come together, but you want to, at any point, avoid sort of turning things over, because if you turn the weaving over, it gets very bulky. And you can see how I've handled the edges here on this bag. I've fully lined the bag with another fabric, and I've brought it over the top so that it's stitched down to this top band. And rather than turning the card woven band over, I've turned the more supple fabric over. When you go to line the bag, cut it a little bit larger all the way around so you can turn the edges under and then be able to stitch down by hand on the sides, stitch the sides together, and then you can do some sort of band to go around the edge. Now, you could even do a narrow card woven band if you wanted to form the edge of the purse. I've done a braided band here for my bag. This course has been a brief introduction into card weaving. It's a varied and rich technique. I've shown you a few of the possibilities. There are many more. Card woven bands are sturdy and decorative. By weaving bands and stitching them together as you've just done, it's possible to make pillow covers, rugs, garments, and wall pieces. Card weaving offers unique richness of texture and variety of patterns. Simply by shifting the positions of individual cards or groups of cards laterally, the weaver can create new textures and new patterns. Complete patterns can easily be predetermined by plotting them on a simple grid, as has been explained. The modern card weaver can create her own designs, or she could use traditional patterns that were first woven hundreds or even thousands of years ago. Once the pattern is determined and the cards are threaded, the weaving goes very quickly, but the weaver can change or expand upon the pattern she has chosen at any time. Many card weavers get special pleasure from the knowledge of the creative potential of every turn of the cards. Looking at these Tibetan bands, currently being woven by refugees in Nepal, gives us an idea of a tradition in card weaving which continues into the present. These belts are woven in the same dark light setup you used for your bag. The ends show the same double face weave you did. Light threads show on one side, dark on the other. These bands are more complex. The weavers have turned individual cards to reverse the light-dark arrangements. In this way, they have created images. I'm sure as you weave and work along, you'll discover things and learn more. Remember, it's all in the card.